you got here, let me just tell you, we are so excited and we're so happy to have you join us as part of Show Up for Your Life Motivational Movement. So here's what I want to talk to you about tonight. I want to ask you 3 very profound questions. I'm going to break these down separately. And the first question I want to ask you right now is, what are you chasing? But let me go ahead and tell you the 3 questions up front, so you can go ahead and jot those down and we'll go in a little deeper. The first question I have for you is, what are you chasing? What are you chasing? What is it that you're pursuing in life? What is it that you're looking to accomplish? What are you chasing? The second thing that I have to ask you is, what is it that you're holding on to? And I'm going to challenge you and I'm going to ask you that question because some of us have been holding on to things just a tad bit too long. And some of us, it might in fact be that time for you to start letting some things go. And finally, the last question I have for you is, what are you attracting? Based on how you're showing up right now in your life, what are you attracting into your life? What are the opportunities that you're attracting into your life? What are the relationships you're attracting to your life? And what are you attracting as a result of who you are right now? And so let's go back to the very first question. If you're a note taker, go ahead and write this down. And so the first thing I'm asking you is, what are you chasing? And so if we think about it, most of us are really chasing different things. You know, some of us, if I ask you right now, what do you chase? You say, Andy, I'm chasing that money, man. I'm trying to make some money. I'm trying to increase my income. I'm trying to get a promotion. I'm trying to take my business to the next level. You happen to be chasing money right now. Some of you, if I were to ask you, well, what are you chasing? And you say, well, Andy, you listen, I am chasing love. I'm out here. I've got online profiles. I'm around here, out here dating, and I'm sick and tired of being alone. And I am chasing love. I'm looking for companionship. I'm looking for someone I can call my own. I'm looking for a husband. I'm looking for a wife. You know, maybe you need to talk to my wife, Coach Cash. She is a love coach. Maybe you're chasing love right now. Or, you know, some of us are chasing significance. Some of us are chasing fame. You know, some of us are chasing stability. But, you know, most of us have something that we're chasing. Some of us are even chasing our goals and our dreams. And so I want you to think about right now, what is it that you're chasing in your life? What is it that you're pursuing? And so here's what I've come to realize, that many of us go through life chasing things that we don't really truly want. In other words, we think that's what we want. And many people had to learn this lesson, right? People who thought that they wanted to be famous became famous and realized that in many ways it absolutely destroyed their lives. Or people who are chasing money, thinking that money was going to bring them happiness. And even though money does create a lot of opportunities for you, and money can make life a whole lot easier, but I've come to realize that, you know what, when you begin to make a little more money and so forth, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be happy. You have to make a choice to be happy. You have some people that have minimal resources that are extremely happy, and there are people who are loaded, filthy rich. And guess what? They've got all the money in the world and they're still miserable. And so what I found is that many of us will oftentimes chase something and believe that the thing that we're chasing is going to bring us happiness and fulfillment, only to realize that it's not quite what we thought it would be. And I can speak from experience, because I remember when I first left corporate America, as a matter of fact, before I even left corporate America, when I was first leaving college and I had got my undergraduate degree in accounting, my master's degree in corporate accounting. And I remember one of the reasons why I decided to major in accounting was because I had a conversation with one of my accounting teachers who said, hey, Andy, I don't know what it is that you're majoring on. I just went through the exams. I went through the tests. And I noticed you did pretty darn well on this test. And she said, I don't know if you've ever considered it, but you should probably go ahead and major in accounting. You know, accountants make pretty good money. And not only that, but you will have a pretty solid and stable career. And so the 2 things that I heard in that conversation was that I was going to make good money and that I was going to have stability. And so at that moment, I decided, I made a decision, and the way you can know I made the decision, because the rest of my actions followed that path. I made the decision early on that I was going to chase the money and that I was going to chase the stability. And so that's why I chose to make accounting the track. That's why I got my master's in corporate accounting. That's why I would go on and eventually get my CPA license, and then also land a job with one of the largest professional service firms in the world, PricewaterhouseCoopers. But let me tell you something that I didn't realize. I didn't realize that in the process of chasing money and in the process of chasing stability, that what I was doing was that I was leaving behind and I was making a trade-off with what my purpose was. I was making a trade-off with what my calling is. And so here's what I need you to realize. Many of us right now, that we're going through the process and we're chasing something, but we haven't taken the time to consider what we're trading off. And so there are many people out there who are just chasing the money and chasing the careers. And the trade-off for them is maybe at the trade-off, it's at the expense of maybe their family. And so even though they're quote unquote saying, I'm working hard for my family to be able to provide for them, but unfortunately, they're never there spending time with their wife. They're never there spending time with their husband. They're never there spending time with their children because they're so busy chasing the money. Or maybe perhaps if maybe you're the person who's been saying, Andy, listen, man, I've been chasing this stability, and you don't realize that in the process of you chasing the stability, that you have made a trade-off and you have forfeited actually going after and fulfilling whatever your calling is on your life or whatever your purpose is. And so what I realized is that when I started working in corporate America, and I told you, and I've shared this with you before, after about 3.5 years of working there, I was having this internal turmoil, and that the internal conversation was that, Andy, there's got to be more than this. And so because I was so fixated on the stability, I was so fixated on the career, I was so fixated on getting, you know, a well-paid corporate career, that I didn't realize that I was making a trade-off. And the trade-off was that I never took the time to really consider for a moment what was going to be my purpose, or what is my purpose, or that I was going to step into my purpose. And so I want you to think about right now, as you look at your life, I want you to think about what is it that you're currently chasing right now. And whatever it is that you're chasing, I want you to think about for a moment, is it possible that right now you're making a trade-off? And not only that, but is the thing that you're chasing truly what you want? And I won't forget this. I had a good friend of mine from college. We both were accounting majors. We both went through the master's program together. We both sat for the CPA exam. And I remember the very first time I went to his house to study, it was the craziest thing. I went into one of his back rooms and he said, Andy, let me show you my collection. And he opened up this closet and it was so intimidating. He had the most crazy collection of guns. I mean, all kind of guns, Glocks and handguns and shotguns and all kind of stuff. I was like, whoa, man. I was like, what's your fascination with guns? And he said, man, for forever, you know, I just would watch all these television shows, man. And I've always wanted to actually become an FBI agent, man. And he says, I love the movies and how they glamorize the FBI agents. And he said, man, believe it or not, he said, I'm getting a degree in accounting because of the fact that I want to become an FBI agent. I said, really? I said, who gets a degree in accounting because they want to become an FBI agent? He said, Andy, believe it or not, he said, accounting majors are one of the at that time, he said they're one of the most highly recruited actual diplomas for people who are actually going and pursuing to become FBI agents, because they love accountants, because accountants have the ability, they're critical thinkers, they go in deep, they're analytical and so forth. And I said, wow, I had no idea. And then so this guy went through undergrad, got his accounting degree, got his master's degree in corporate accounting. He passed the CPA exam. And then I went on to work for PricewaterhouseCoopers. And then he went on this journey getting an accounting job. But ultimately, his only goal was to become an FBI agent. And so I remember we finally got on the phone. We were talking. He said, Andy, man, he said, this process is crazy, man. They've been doing all kind of background checks on me. They've been doing all kind of testing. I mean, they're going all the way back to my elementary school records. Man, he's like, man, this is a serious process. He said, not only that, but he says, I don't know if you remember, but in college, remember I wore glasses? He said, well, guess what? I couldn't even be able to get hired by the FBI because of my vision. So he said, I even paid thousands of dollars to get LASIK surgery to get my eyes corrected so I could become an FBI agent. I said, man, listen, man, well, good luck, man. I really hope that things work out for you. And so it was about maybe 7 months went by, and I followed up with him. I called him up. I was like, hey, man, what's going on? He said, oh, man, listen, man, you won't believe this, man. I got approved, man. I finally got approved. I am officially going into FBI training. I'm about to become an FBI agent. I was like, dude, that's insane, man. I remember when we were in college. I remember how bad you wanted this thing. I know that this is a son that you've been chasing for a very, very long time, man. I'm so happy for you, man. Congratulations. And then lo and behold, it's 1 year later, and I finally catch up with my buddy. I'm like, hey, man, how you doing, man? Tell me the life of being an FBI agent, man. What's it been like? And he said, Andy. I said, what? He said, so you're not going to believe this. I said, what? He said, listen, man, I went through the training. and I became an FBI agent, man. And right away, they were going to ask me to go on a special assignment that was going to require me to leave the country. And he said that it's not what I thought it was going to be. He said, my idea of an FBI agent was all the things that I saw on television. And this was something I had been chasing for so long. And I realized that it's not what I want, man. And he said, believe it or not, 2 months ago, I gave my letter of resignation, man. I was blown away. I couldn't believe it because I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, I mean, this is the only thing this guy talked about all through college when we were getting our accounting degree, when we were getting our master's degree, when we were studying together for the CPA exam, after college, when I was following up with him, all he was talking about was becoming an FBI agent. And now this guy finally becomes an FBI agent and he realizes that it's not what he wants. And here's what I need you to understand, that there are many people, unfortunately, who followed that same path. You see, they've gone all their lives chasing something, whatever that thing may be. Maybe they were chasing the fame, they were chasing the acknowledgement, they were chasing the money, they were chasing the position, they were chasing the prestige, they were chasing the individual, they were chasing, and they never put any real thought into, do I really want this thing that I'm chasing? And because they didn't put any real thought into it, they finally got it. They finally got to that point, and now they say, wait a second, it's not what I thought it was going to be. This is not what I thought it was going to be. This is not bringing me the level of happiness that I want. And so I want to save you some time. I want to save you some frustration. And I want you to start asking yourself the hard questions, the questions that most people don't take the time to think about. And I want you to spend some time. You see, successful people take the time and they actually schedule time to think. Most people don't take the time to think. They don't schedule time to think. And I'm telling you, you have to schedule time to think. And you have to ask yourself some difficult questions. And you have to ask yourself some challenging questions. And one of those is, what am I currently chasing right now? And is the thing that I'm chasing really going to bring me the level of fulfillment, the level of happiness that I think it is? I think that if my friend really would have took some time early on to get a real true understanding of what it was that he was chasing, he would have saved himself a lot of time, a lot of frustration, a lot of grief. So I want you to write that question down. And the something I want you to ponder on is, what are you chasing? And is that thing that you're chasing really going to bring you any level of fulfillment? Then the second thing that I want you to think about is, what are you holding on to? What are you holding on to? And the reason why I tell you to think about that is, oftentimes when we think about holding on to something, or when we even are at that place where we're saying, maybe this is something I should let go of, we often associate letting go with a sign of weakness. But here's what I've come to realize in life, that oftentimes it takes more strength to let go than it does to hold on. And so many of us, unfortunately, are holding on to things beyond their expiration date. Many of us are holding on to things beyond their shelf life. One of the things that my wife and I would do every once in a while is we'll go into the cabinet and we'll start pulling out all the things that we have in our cabinet. And then we'll start deciding what is it that we're going to keep and what is it that we should actually throw away. And so what we'll discover is we'll buy something and we shove it in the back of the cabinet, or we never actually get in there and use it. And then we pull it out and then we look at the date and we realize that it's past its shelf life. In other words, it's expired. And so it's no longer any good. And so we got to throw it away. And so what most of us don't realize is we hold on to a lot of things beyond their shelf life. And so I'll give you a perfect example. Some of you right now are still have some friendships that you have outgrown. I mean, there's somebody you've known them. Yeah, you've known them since high school. I mean, you've known this person for a very long time. However, because of the fact that you've been growing, you've been doing some personal development, you've been listening to motivational message, you've been reading books, you now have higher goals, and you're pursuing a business. You're looking to take your dreams to the next level. You're looking to go from working a regular corporate job to fulfilling your goals, your dreams, your destiny. You now have a family. You now, the things that you used to do, running the streets and clubbing and having a good time, you sort of outgrown those things. And so the relationship that you had with that person was around things that you've outgrown. And so in many ways, you've outgrown the relationship. The relationship has reached a shelf life and the shelf life has expired, but you're still holding on. And the reason why you're holding on is because you're saying to yourself, well, this person has been my friend for so long. They've been my friend now for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Well, guess what? Guess what? That it may be time to let go because of the fact that, understand this, that new levels also means new friends. When you're trying to get to the next level, it also means that you're gonna have to start changing people, places, and things. So people are one of the things that you absolutely have to change. You got to start changing your associations. Dennis Kimbrough said, if you're the smartest one in your group, you need a new group. And so you've got to start surrounding yourself with the right people. There's been studies that have shown that you will make within a few $1,000s of your 5 closest friends. And I remember one particular telephone company used to have a whole ad around your Fab Five. And so these were the 5 people that you spoke to the most. And so who's your Fab Five? Who are the people that you're talking to the most? And there's a strong possibility that there's somebody in there that maybe you have to let go of, or maybe there's something you've been holding on to, like a grudge or some bitterness. They say that when you hold a grudge against somebody, it's almost as if that you are taking poison and you're hoping and wishing that something is going to happen to the other person. And so at some point, you've got to come to the place where you got to say, wait a second, I need to let go. There's an old African proverb. There's an old proverb, and it says that you got to let go or be dragged. And so many of us are holding on to things that are detrimental, things that can no longer serve us, things that are dragging us in another direction of our goals and our dreams. This is a story that I shared with some of you years ago. I don't know if you remember this, and some of you who are new, you probably never heard me share this. I want to share this with you. I used to have this German Shepherd. Her name is Jasmine. I mean, this dog was high energy, most athletic, amazing dog ever, German Shepherd. And I'm not just saying that because that was my dog and I absolutely adored her, but this dog was absolutely amazing. And so I remember one particular time I had to head out to the West Coast and I was going to be out of town for a couple of days. And so I asked one of my friends if she would do me a favor and just swing by, check on Jasmine, make sure she has water and food, and periodically go ahead and take Jasmine out for a walk every single day. And so, I left, and, when you have a dog and you really love the dog, it's like almost like having kids. So I called back the first day. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Everything cool? Did you check on Jasmine? She said, yeah, no problem. I gave Jasmine her food, got her water. I took her for a walk. Everything's cool. The following day, I give her a call, and I'm calling in to check on. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And all of a sudden, I could tell something's wrong. And I'm like, is everything okay? She's like, no, 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 no. I said, what happened? Did something happen to Jasmine or anything? She was like, no. She says, actually, I'm just now leaving the hospital. I said, what do you mean leaving the hospital? Did Jasmine bite you? Or, what happened? She said, no. She said, I went over there to open the door, check on Jasmine. I got her some water. I got her some food. And I put her on the leash, and we went outside to go for a walk like we did the previous day. We started to go for a walk. And then all of a sudden, Jasmine saw this squirrel, and she just stopped dead in her tracks. And all of a sudden, she put that hind leg up, and her tail went like straight out. And you could tell she was just focused in on the squirrel. And my friend said she tried to pull the collar to get Jasmine's attention, but Jasmine was not paying any attention to her. And she said all of a sudden, Jasmine began to lunge at the squirrel in the direction that the squirrel was. She said she was holding on. And then Jasmine, being such a big dog and such a strong dog, Jasmine really got aggressive and started going after the squirrel. And eventually Jasmine pulled her to the ground. She said she's holding on to the leash. And so Jasmine actually drags her. She twists her ankle. And as she's holding on to the leash, she's being dragged against the concrete floor. And all the skin is being literally like rubbed off of her arm and her legs and everything. And I was like, oh my goodness. I said, well, first of all, are you okay? She said, listen, they said it's a bad sprain with my ankle. I'm definitely scabbed up, but it's going to be okay. And I said, my goodness, I'm so sorry. I can't believe that. And once I realized that she was okay and Jasmine was okay, I just asked her the question. I said, I just got to ask you this question. And I said, well, when Jasmine started lunging for the squirrel, or at least at the point where you fell down, why didn't you just let go of the leash? And when I asked her that question, you would think I asked her the most profound question. And she just paused for a moment and she said to me, Andy, I don't know. And so here's what I realized, that many of us are holding on to things that are literally dragging us and are literally in our detriment. In other words, literally, we don't realize, just like my friend, that we've got to let go or be dragged. Now, I don't know what's at the end of your leash. I don't know what it is that you're holding on to. Maybe you're holding on to some negative, toxic people that are around you. Maybe you're holding on to a past grudge. Maybe you're holding on to a past failure. I don't know what's at the end of your leash, but all I know is at some point you have to be willing to let go or be dragged. And so I want you to be thinking about right now in your life, what are you holding on to that is possibly to your detriment? What is it that you're holding on to that is no longer serving you? What is it that you're holding on to that's dragging you in the opposite direction of your goals and your dreams? I want you to think about that for a moment, because I'm telling you this, that there are certain things that it's time for you to let go. And whether that is a past disappointment, a failure, maybe it's the same old story, the same tired story you keep replaying about why you are not going back into business, as to why you're not going to try again, as to why you gave up on your goals and your dreams. You've been playing the same old story, the same old excuses for too long. Listen, it's time to get over the story. It's time to move on. It's time to let go. And you can't write the next chapter in your book if you keep rereading the previous book. I know this. Listen, as many of you know, I'm so grateful and thankful that I have just recently released a book, Show Up for Your Life, 7 Principles to Living an Extraordinary Life. And here's what I'll tell you right now. If you haven't ordered your copy of the book, I want you to do that right now. Make sure you go to showupforyourlifebook.com. Once again, that is showupforyourlifebook.com, and you can order your copy right away. But I can tell you right now, I wouldn't be able to get through the book. I wouldn't be able to write all the chapters of the book if all I kept doing was rereading the previous chapter. And many of us live our lives like that. You see, we want to get to the next chapter of our lives, but we keep rereading the previous chapter of the bad breakup, the previous chapter of the bad investment, the previous chapter of something that happened, the previous chapter of a failure, a setback, or something that didn't go our way. Well, listen, get over it. It happened. It's unfortunate, but now is the time for you to begin to move forward. Now is the time to start writing a new chapter. And so finally, here's the last thing. Here's the last question that I have for you. The last question I have for you is, what are you attracting into your life? What are you attracting into your life? Jim Rohn, who is perhaps one of the best speakers of our time, best thought leaders of our time, he said something profound and powerful. And I have to be honest with you, the first time I hear it, I don't know if I really got it, but now I completely get it. And he said that success is not something that you pursue. He said success is something that you attract by becoming an attractive person. And he doesn't mean attractive person like physically attractive. What he's saying is it's based off of who you become as a person. In other words, you will attract people into your life based off of the type of person that you become. You will attract certain opportunities into your life based off of how you show up on a daily basis. You will attract people who are operating at certain levels if you yourself are operating at a certain level. You will also attract negative people, toxic people, if you yourself are negative. So realize this, that oftentimes we attract what we are. And so if you want to attract love into your life, if you want to attract people who are really generous, then you need to be a loving and a generous person. If you want to attract successful people in your life, then you need to perform at a level of excellence. You need to create things and operate at a level of excellence. You need to master your craft. You need to be a person that is seriously serious about the things that you're pursuing. And understand this is both positive and negative. And so realize you can attract everything that you want in your life, and you can also attract everything that you don't want in your life. Oftentimes, it is the way that you choose to show up. It is who you are that oftentimes is going to determine what is drawn and what's attracted to you. I'm telling you, there's some people, when they open up their mouth and all they keep telling you is all the negative things that are going on, all the toxic things. And yes, absolutely, all they're ever going to see is negative and toxic things, because guess what? That's what they're looking for. That's where their mindset is. So of course, the sky is falling. Of course, the government is messed up. Of course, their job is horrible. Of course, everybody's always trying to get over on them. Of course, you know, somebody did something bad. Somebody cut them out. Somebody took their money. Somebody's trying to do this. Somebody's doing that. Of course, because guess what? That's their state of mind. That's what they're expecting. And whatever it is that you're expecting in life, that's what you'll get. And so oftentimes we have to become the very thing that we're looking to attract. And so I've come to realize that when I look at my life and I look at certain opportunities, I'm thinking about Somebody reached out to me about a major conference that they asked me to be the keynote speaker at a major conference later on in this year. And I could tell you, I remember attending that very conference 3 years ago and sitting down in the audience and looking around at all 700 people in the room and saying, wow, this is a first-class event. I would love to be able to speak on this stage. I would love to be able to speak at this event. And that was just something I said to myself. And I could tell you this, that it wasn't because that I went up to the person and said, hey, is there any way that you can book me 3 years from now so I could be the speaker? No, that's not what I did. I continued to work on my craft. I continued to develop my voice. I continued to seek opportunities. And let me just tell you how I got this opportunity. Fast forward 2.5 years later, I have one particular coaching client who is out there kicking butt and taking names. And she is a coach, and she happens to have a inner circle coaching program. And people who are in her inner circle coaching program had to pay and make an investment in excess of $25,000. And this is a young lady that I happen to coach and help her out with her story. And she said, Andy, I have a weekend retreat going on with my inner circle coaching students. And I was telling them about how you helped me with my story. And I want to know, can you just swing by and share a couple words about the importance of story and talk to them about what you were able to do with me? And I think, hey, if you swing by, Andy, you may be able to pick up a couple of clients. And so I said, absolutely, I'd love to do that. And so I swung by her meeting and I spoke to them about the importance of story. I told them about, how they can use story in order to have better connections with their coaching clients, to be able to better connect and influence the people who are sitting in their audience so that they can increase their closing ratio. And that stories fundamentally allows to create a shift to make impact with people. And so I'm talking about all these things. And coincidentally, the person that is sitting in the front row happens to be the president of the Office Depot Foundation. Now, the Office Depot Foundation happens to be the organization that puts on this tremendous, extraordinary event. And so she's sitting in the front row. She hears me share the story. We have a follow-up phone call. She then becomes my student. I then end up coaching the president of the Office Depot Foundation, helping her to leverage her story as she shares and talks about the amazing things that they're doing at the Office Depot Foundation to make impact and change lives. And then she says to me, hey, Andy, you know what? We're doing an event this year. And I said, well, actually, I'm familiar with the event. I attended the event 3 years ago. And she said, I was, thinking about who should be the keynote speaker this year. And I said, you know what? I can't think of a better person than for you to come in and speak to all these people about the importance of storytelling and how they can leverage stories. And I said, my goodness, I can't believe this. And so I wish I could tell you that I mapped out an amazing game plan 3 years ago about how I was going to be the keynote speaker, but that's not how it went down. I tell you, how did it happen? I continued to work on my craft and I attracted the opportunity to myself. I attracted that other client that I worked with who then asked me to come speak. I attracted that opportunity. I then worked with this individual, gave them great value, and then guess what? They said, hey, you need to be the person that's going to come in and speak. And I share that with you to make you understand this, that success is not something that you pursue. And that's why I love these words by Jim Rohn. It is something that you attract by the person that you become. And so my question for you is, what are you attracting into your life right now? And if you don't like some of the things that you're attracting into your life, maybe you're not happy with the opportunities you're attracting, maybe you're not happy with the people that you're attracting, maybe you're not happy with the circumstances that you attract to your life, then what I'm saying to you is, as opposed to focusing on the circumstances, opposed to focusing on the external factors, what I'm saying is you need to work on yourself so that you can show up differently and you can show up the very things that you want. And so I start off by telling you I wanted to ask you 3 very powerful, profound questions. And what I'm saying to you is, if you'll take the time to go back and think about these questions, to answer these questions, what I'm saying is you'll be able to make a tremendous impact and a change in your life. The very first question, of course, is, what are you chasing in your life? What are you chasing right now? And is this thing that you're chasing truly going to bring you happiness and fulfillment and put you in line with your calling and the purpose in your life? The second thing is, after I said, well, what are you chasing? The second thing is, what are you holding on to? And is there something that you're maybe been holding on to for too long that you need to let go because you've held on to it for a bit too long? And this is your time to absolutely let it go. And so thirdly, the last thing is, what are you attracting into your life? And if you don't like the things that you're attracting to your life, I'm going to challenge you to start working on yourself, because we attract what we are. And if you want to have success, success is not something you pursue. It is something you attract by becoming an attractive person, not physically attractive, but because you've been putting in the work and making the things work. And listen, this wouldn't be Andy Henriquez if I didn't end by telling you this. Show up for your lives, ladies and gentlemen, because if you don't, nobody else will. Well, let me just tell you, I'm so excited. I'm so grateful that all of you chose to tune in for the Show Up for Your Life Motivational Movement, whether you're joining me via the conference call line or you're tuning in right now via the live stream. And I want to share a couple of things with you before I go ahead and open up the lines and, of course, allow you to go ahead and share your comments, questions, and feedback. First things first, I'm super excited. I'm going to be putting forward a book launch party for those of you who are going to be in town. If you're going to be in the South Florida area, April 9th at the Hard Rock Casino and Hotel at this place called Piano Hollywood, or some people refer to it as the Piano Bar, April 9th from 7 o'clock p.m. to 9:30 p.m. I'm having a book launch party. This is going to be an extraordinary event. Lots of fun, music, good times, giveaways, and most importantly, an opportunity for us to come around. A lot of familiar faces, lots of smiles. If you think you can make it, you definitely want to go ahead and send me a message so I can go ahead and make sure that you get the Evite so you can make sure that you RSVP. And I want to make sure you get that. I'll make sure to post that event, also the Evite to the event, in the Show Up group. The other thing is, if for some reason you and I are not yet connected, just go to showupforyourlife.com, showupforyourlife.com. Go ahead and type in your name and your email address in the banner, and it's going to allow me and you to stay connected. And you and I are going to be able to stay connected. And you want to go to showupforyourlife.com, put your name and email address if you and I are not yet connected. Now, finally, if you're listening into this right now and you have not ordered your copy of the Show Up for Your Life book, let me just tell you, if you're going to read just one book this year, all right? Now, I'm not going to compare it to the Bible. Other than the Bible, if you're going to choose to read one other book this year, I'm telling you, the book that you need to read is Show Up for Your Life, 7 Principles to Living an Extraordinary Life. These are 7 principles that are going to position you from just simply living an ordinary life, from going through just basically the daily grind, to stepping into your purpose and living a truly fulfilling life, and living a life that's in line with your purpose, getting you to really truly show up the way that it was intended for you to show up. All right, this is the book. You absolutely have to get a copy. Go to showupforyourlifebook.com. I'm going to say it for you one more time. Everything spelled out, showupforyourlifebook.com. Very easy for you to get there. And last but not least, for those of you who want to connect with me, we have a private Facebook group. Just open up a separate URL and you can go ahead and type in there showupgroup.com, and that's going to direct you, showupgroup.com, and it's going to direct you to our private Facebook group. If you're not in there yet, you can go ahead and come over there and join us. I'd love to get your question, comments, and feedback. And like we always do, I'm going to go ahead and put my phone on